All in all, the Zionist settler state has put Donald Trump in a whole lot of trouble. There can be little doubt that the two reasons why the Epstein files have now been suppressed, at least until somebody leaks them, is that Donald Trump himself is personally implicated in the Epstein affair, which should come scarcely as a surprise given the long decade of close relationship between the two men, and given the cut of both of their jibs, given the predilections written all over the faces of both men and in 1,000, 10,000 photographs. It will come as no surprise to anyone that in his New York days, Donald Trump was a hedonistic, sybaritic, fornicating individual who was of low morals. Let me leave it at that. That will come as no surprise. The fact that he was filmed whilst doing so must have come as a surprise to him. I say that because if Donald Trump had known that he was so heavily implicated in the Epstein papers that they could not possibly be released, he would not have spent the last few years threatening condign punishment on every pedophilic rapist that was found to be a part of the Epstein affair. He would not have campaigned in the presidential election, saying that he was going to open the books, saying that he was going to unmask everybody involved in this shocking, horrific scandal. His attorney general would not have claimed that she had the file on her desk. His attorney general would not have said that there are hundreds of thousands of hours of videotape, which has deeply shocked even the hard-bitten Department of Justice. If Donald Trump had known that he featured so heavily in the Epstein affair that it could not be released, his director of the FBI and deputy, for now, director of the FBI, would not have been swashbuckling around on every podcast, every television screen that they could find, warning that justice was coming for Epstein's victims, warning that every criminal would be named and shamed, unmasked, and forced to take the perp walk. If Donald Trump had known that he could not release the Epstein files, he would not have been saying that he was going to, right up until the very last minute. The White House would not have handed out these binders, which now we're supposed to believe were actually empty binders, even though they said on the front, Epstein Affair Part 1.
Oh, buddy. Ha, 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 ha. Hey, guys, it's David Vose, and it's David Vose time. Well, class, today it's going to be a field trip. You know, we're sick of all this homework. Let's just go on a field trip. We got so many things to see. I remember when I was a kid, we went down, let's see, what grade was I in? Second grade or something. I remember we got to go down to the Wonder Bread factory to see how this Wonder Bread was made. I guess they were trying to influence the children to eat Wonder Bread. I mean, it's interesting they used to call it Wonder Bread because it was so wonderful. It was just a lot of white fluff, sugar, and garbage that would make the children die, and we were being shown how they made us die. Oh, man. Today I'm going to show you how they make the ingredients in your news and how they make the propaganda in your world that's killing you. I don't know why I'm laughing. Actually, I'm crying. I'm crying for the children. I'm crying for my children, for your children, for everybody's children. And dadgummit, I'm crying for myself. I'm crying for all of us adults, too, because this is sick, man. But, you know, I ain't going to cry too long, because for me, this is over. I'm happy. I got it going. The Lord is blessing us. I don't believe in all of the devil's schemes. I am set free. Oh, buddy, I'm set free. Hallelujah. I got it all, man. I got happiness in a bottle, man. I just pop that cork and man, that's just good stuff. What is that? Oh, well, it's love and positive thinking and well, truth. Truth is the best medicine. Well, today the reason I'm sad is for so many of you who don't know this information. And here's the solution to that one. I'm going to tell you the information, and you guys can hear the information, which many of my subscribers already know. And then we're going to say, oh, wonderful. You bottled it up in a nice little bottle and labeled it, and we're going to send it out, put it in the factory, get it all going down there and bottled, and then make an advertisement. Advertise. The kingdom and the king, right? Millions now living will never die. And Pastor Russell just put the fires out in hell. Oh, buddy, we're off on a good start. But, yeah, they just killed the prophet. Oh, man, it's sad. It's sad. And after he died, we find out he was a polygamist and a pedophile, and he was just a liar, right? He was lying to everybody. Oh, yeah, it couldn't be that the guys that killed him were trying to fix things by murdering the guy that was the good guy and shoving everything under the rug that, well, all those verses that the prophet wrote that said, don't be a polygamist and you should only have one wife and all this secret combinations and secret handshakes and the brotherhood and one for all and all for one behind the closed doors. It's evil and straight from Satan. What about the prophecy that Brigham Young was going to lead the whole church to hell? Well, hey, we can't trust that kind of prophecy. That was probably, done in error, right? Maybe some wicked person wrote that down. We can't believe it. So much intrigue, so much. Well, who said it? Who done it? And what's the real truth? Well, I'll tell you the real truth. We're going to tell you the real truth today, friends. Oh, buddy. So stay tuned. Get your pencils out. We're going to take notes, but not too many. Because remember, we're on vacation. We're going to go on a field trip and just watch the intricate details of how they make this sausage. So I'm listening to this guy, and he says something about some binders, and it's written right on the front, Epstein Files Phase 1 or something like that. And so I was like, okay, if that exists, well, I'd like to read that. Let's go see who's got one of those copies. And I pulled up some stuff on AI, and I didn't record that. But where I started recording, I'm going to give you the lowdown. Here she goes. So I wrote, can we read the information in the binders? Now, I had already asked them 3 times specifically about the binders that on the front page had Epstein Files Phase 1. This is what that guy is talking about. And I didn't record that, but they kept giving me a runaround. They wouldn't tell me, and they said that they were distributed to some conservative people, and they all said that it didn't have any bombshell, and they weren't going to release any more. And I said, okay, great, but can we, the public, read the information in the binders? And then this happens, and I've seen this happen over and over again when they don't want to tell me something. Something went wrong, and the content wasn't generated. But why? If I didn't have internet or something happened that it couldn't get through to me because I didn't have a good signal, because that could happen out here, it wouldn't have had enough signal to write or to think up something like something went wrong and the content wasn't generated. I mean, that content was generated, that it wasn't generated, right? The concept or the thought pattern, the clarity or the answer that they gave me was the content wasn't generated, something went wrong. That in and of itself is content. It's an answer. If it had just been a signal problem, it wouldn't have gone through. It just would have went, and it'll kept spinning the wheels and it never would have answered because it didn't have signal. Or if I went long enough, they'd have said, sorry, try again, no signal or something. But this says something went wrong and the content wasn't generated, so they don't want to tell me the answer. But I'm going to ask them if this binder was given to Marjorie Taylor Greene, however you pronounce her name. I want to know if she got a binder or who may have gotten a binder, because we're being played. Marjorie Taylor Greene, she's from the New York area, and she's pretending to be all for the release of this. You know, we got to figure out this Epstein thing, blah, 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 blah. But she's a Trumper, which is an area where a lot of people are usually liberal, but she's conservative. And Epstein's Jewish. There's something going on here. Why is it that there are so many of these individuals that have now flipped and they're for Trump? And they're demanding the Epstein files. I want to know if she got one of these binders. And if she did, then why wouldn't she release it, the contents? And doesn't she know by now what's going on? Is there any grapevine available? Because, you know, they heard it from the grapevine, right? You always hear things from the grapevine. Ain't got no grapevine up there? They should know what's in those files by now. Everybody who's anybody should probably already know whatever's going down. And they all act like, we don't know what's going on, and we demand to know. Well, yeah, it's just they're going to keep demanding to know. And they're going to have our heroes being the very people that are holding back the information. Because if Marjorie Taylor Greene's got a binder, let's see it, baby. Let me ask. Hold on. Okay, it says, did Marjorie Taylor Greene get a binder? It says, according to news reports, Marjorie Taylor Greene was not among the group of the right-wing influencers who received binders labeled the Epstein Files Phase 1 at the White House in February of 2025. However, Greene has been a prominent voice expressing skepticism and demanding further information regarding the Epstein, the Weinstein, the Einstein, case. Secret agent, Little Black Book, she has called for more transparency from the Department of Justice and the FBI, stating that the public deserves answers. Yeah, well, this Ghislaine Maxwell and her relationship to Epstein and Trump, they're all dancing and singing together in the background, and the music's going, and you can see Trump's like pointing out the girls and saying, I want to grab her. Oh, something like that. They like it. And he was just itching. But, it had nothing to do with Epstein. He's just talking to him at some party, randomly talking about grabbing somebody's ussies. But, I know that was a different thing where he was on the back of a bus. They didn't know he was being recorded. Really? They recorded the whole thing and put it live on purpose. They're putting it in your face. They're shoving it down your face. The liberals and the conservatives are all working together. It's all the big mockingbird industry of news. And they're just all repeating the same garbage. And they're exposing just enough to make you mad. And they're never arresting anybody or trying. Everybody gets away with everything. And the bad guys are the good guys, and the good guys are the bad guys, and they're all of this certain group of Bavarian Illuminati that, children of the parents of the great space race, Werner von Braun, and the Darwin and the Marxists, and all of them, Trudeau going back to Fidel Castro. I guess he's the son of Fidel Castro. Elite billionaires that found their way into power in Canada, while at the same time Elon Musk's family somehow goes to Canada and just happens to have gone down to Silicon Valley and created the whole Silicon Valley thing, the technocracy, a great enterprise that certainly could never have been put into effect. The fact that it actually has been put into effect and that everything's being run by high-tech billionaires, what is this love affair or this worship? They're always coming on my feed and saying that Steve Jobs was this great genius. They always do that, like, Einstein was a genius and Tesla was a genius, and somehow Tesla invented everything, and the guy before him invented everything, and the guy before him invented everything, and really? I'll tell you who invented everything is Benjamin Franklin, but we don't hear about him anymore. Poor little guy and his kite. Well, anyway, I think there's something nefarious going on. So I want to know who did get one of these little binders, if it wasn't Marjorie Taylor Greene. Was it that other Jewish senator, Elise Stefanik? If they didn't give it to her, then they're probably just saying they didn't, and they did. Because one of these girls probably got a binder. And they're both very much Trumpers and very much of this Bavarian ilk. I wrote, is Marjorie Taylor Greene Jewish? They didn't give an answer, but at the bottom says information about the religious affiliation of private individuals is not available. Oh, man. When did this happen? Where somebody's not, they don't tell you their biography. That's illegal to talk about somebody's biography. I mean, like, guys, is your eyes starting to crack open just a little bit? Are you starting to realize that AI is going to tell you only what they want, nothing more, and it's going to be all twisted lies and misinformation, and you're not going to get the truth, just like they did with Jehovah's Witnesses. And there's a good example. You've got to only read their literature. You're not allowed to read the apostate literature. Why, they're apostate. They're liars, and you can't get any truth from the world. Only trust in the brethren, right? Down here at the Holy Satan's Shrine. But yeah, that's what you get. Well, I think we'll find the answer regardless of whether they want to give it to us or not. If you go down, Marjorie Taylor Greene, far-right politician, reports sightings of Jewish space lasers. Representative Adam Smith on Marjorie Taylor Greene talks about Jewish space lasers and violence against her colleagues. Jewish space lasers, the Rothschilds, and 200 years of conspiracy theories. Expel Marjorie Taylor Greene, signed the open letter from American Jews. Members of the Atlanta Jewish community respond to Marjorie Taylor Greene. They appreciate the apology, but her future actions are what they will be watching. See how they're orchestrating this? They pretend they don't like her, and somehow she just got into office, without them even wanting her or financing her, and now she's against them? Or is this one of their plants, their CIA controlled opposition plants? I'll choose the latter. McCarthy calls out Marjorie Taylor Greene over Holocaust remarks. Oh, what? She denied the Holo? What? She'd like to remind you, remind us that she is not serious about Jewish space lasers. She claims she was abducted by Jewish spaceship. Okay. All right. I don't know if they're going to even tell us or not. Shoot, I remember when you could ask a question like this like a couple of weeks ago and they'd give you an answer, but not anymore, buddy. I don't think they're going to tell us. Something's gone crazy with the AI. Let me ask it a different way. So while they refuse to say her heritage on national TV, and somehow or another it's now illegal to find out somebody's heritage. I will show you this. The koshering of Marjorie Taylor Greene. Despite her support for QAnon and rants about Rothschild space lasers, some Orthodox supporters still think the Congresswoman is good for the Jews. Last week, Ezekiel Moskowitz and Nachman Mostovsky, directors of the Orthodox pro-Trump Shovevai Zion group, led Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene on a tour of Orthodox Jewish sites in Brooklyn and the 5 towns. By the way, remember, Jehovah's Witnesses their capital was Brooklyn, right across from the UN and everything. So it was a what would you say, an offshoot of this Zionist. Remember, announcing Jehovah's Kingdom, Watchtower Society, another secret society where they meet in halls, and their founder was a Knights Templar Freemason, already, infiltrated by the Illuminati. And see, this explains a lot. See, I used to wonder, well, how are they going to get the whole world to accept their one world order? Or how can they bring it in smoothly and get people to bow down to government or deny Jesus or become Satanists all of a sudden? Okay, we're all going to be Satanists. Now line up. Here's your hat, right? Oh, what? That one's a little crooked. Oh, you look more like a witch. Well, anyway, but no. They've been doing it. We were the pagans, the Gentiles, and we were given the gospel. And it went to the pagans. It went to the Gentiles. And Judaism vehemently hated Christians. And so they infiltrated. Well, in the last 100, 200 years, what have they been doing? Well, we got the Jehovah's Witness movement, the Herbert Armstrong movement, go back to all the holy days, the Advent, the whole Adventist movement back in 1844, right? At the very year that Joseph Smith was murdered. But they believed the world was coming to an end in 1844. And what was this whole thing? Watchtower, we're up on the Watchtower, we're waiting for Jehovah's Kingdom, announcing Jehovah's Kingdom. Go back to the law. Oh boy, we were all apostate because we were doing that darn Easter and Sunday worship, and all those phallic symbols on the churches and the steeples and the stained glass windows have got to be pagan. My goodness, right? Well, you trying to keep the demons out? Oh, why you got demons, buddy? Well, it was all pagan. It was all evil. We got to go back to the law. We got to go back to Judaism. So now we've got this Abrahamic Accord. In other words, yeah, you're Muslim, you're Jewish, you're Christian, but we'll all get together because we got one thing in common. What's that, Dave? Well, we don't believe Jesus was the Lord, and he's not coming to set up his kingdom. But what we do believe in is the Old Testament adage of, you can't know what we're really doing, but we're genociding and we're making y'all slaves and buying and selling, and if you don't follow the law, you're gone. So, look, Jehovah's Witnesses, they did a campaign with their flyers. Yeah, their magazines, their brochures, their books. The Adventists had so many books, they claim if you stack them in on end, they would go all the way around the world and back and up to the moon and over to Mars and back to the earth again. That's how many books the Adventists published. And even the New Age movement, which was originally just like maybe Adventism was originally good, and Jehovah's Witnesses talking about good things and pyramids and all of this, but they hijacked all of it. And what were they teaching? Well, the white brotherhood, we got to follow the tall whites. And who rules over them? Well, those are the alien grays or little serpents. Okay, the devils, interdimensional beings. And so, yeah, it's a new world order and aliens. It's all about aliens and abductions and galactic federations. And that's the new age movement. It's not even about actually righteousness or attaining unto immortality or putting on, some kind of a spiritual enlightened aura. Who cares about that, right? We're not here for the enlightenment. Just pass the weed. Oh man, let's have an orgy. Okay, that's not the truth. It's all manipulated. So Jesus is no longer a real person who's really coming to set up his actual kingdom, and he didn't really mean we should love one another. Well, we've got to go back to the vengeance. And hey, let's sacrifice a red heifer. We can all agree with that, right? Right? I mean, isn't Saudi Arabia coming into line with their casinos and their boxing matches and oil, and XRP just bought everything in Saudi Arabia? It's completely bought, sold, and running on XRP. The entire Japanese environment, China, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Jordan, and, by the way, so is Russia. Everything else is going XRP. Brazil, this whole BRICS nation, what a fraud. There was never any BRICS conspiracy to take over the currency. They knew all along that it was going to be XRP. So the whole thing's been orchestrated for 100 and maybe 200 years, and they've got us all right exactly where they want you. And you'll be looking around saying, wait a minute, I thought there was going to be an apostasy. This is what we believe. Yeah, it's what you believe now after the, 100 years of them brainwashing and thinking Jehovah's Witnesses was great. And hey, we got to go back to our Hebrew roots. So, Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene on a tour of Orthodox Jewish sites in Brooklyn in the 5 towns, an Orthodox area of Long Island, including a yeshiva, a matzo bakery, and a kosher pizza parlor. Greene, known for spreading racist and anti-Semitic conspiracy theories, including the now infamous suggestion that the 2018 California wildfires might have been ignited by a space laser funded by the Rothschild family, a symbol of global Jewish power for the past 2 centuries, was thrilled at the opportunity to join the two men. See, if she says it was funded by the Rothschild family and she's talking about anti this and anti that, it's just some kind of propaganda to get you to realize that these crazy Christians are crazy, right? And all their lies. But, I don't know. It's some Hegelian dialectic going on there too. But it says that we wanted to show Marjorie Taylor Greene's authentic Judaism, said Mostovsky. And we felt before Passover would be a great time. They're well known for their Jewish circles, for their passionate commitment to the radical right. They turned the annual banquet of Young Israel, a modern Orthodox synagogue movement, into a MAGA rally in 2019. So if you think that, well, because they're claiming she's anti-Semitic and all of this, that she couldn't possibly have this heritage, well, think again. She does, and they wanted to show her Orthodox Judaism, and they wanted to promote her, and these were Brooklyn individuals that were very Orthodox and very MAGA. So we've got the Bill Maher, who was a very big liberal, who's now turned to basically favoring Trump. Then we've got their brothers over on late night refusing to talk to Trump and hating him with a passion. It's a set-up, orchestrated theater, friends. Oh, David, that's just the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. Oh, I'm going to die laughing. No movie is ever going to have a script, Dave. The actors are just speaking from their heart. I mean, look at them. They all dressed in old robes. It looks like they're all simultaneously just speaking words that form this play, this theater, that we know there's a plot, a theme, and then there is a final dazzling ending, right? The dun 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 dun. Don't believe that music in the background is trying to tell you that something scary is coming. They don't know what's going on. This is all spur of the moment grassroots movements, Dave. Oh, well, I didn't think of it that way. Sorry about that. So, let's go back. What about the other lady that we speak of? Elise Stefanik. What is her heritage? So I looked up Elise Stefanik's family heritage line, whatever, and it wouldn't tell me. I asked directly, is she, and they didn't answer. But I did find this that says New York is youngest woman only Jewish Republican in Congress. New York's congressional delegation will feature the youngest woman ever elected to Congress and the only Jewish Republican when lawmakers are sworn in Tuesday. Now, see, that is a lie. She's not the only oh, what a load of crap. That's just to show you that they're not even telling you. I mean, think about all the ones we know are. They're not telling you. There's all of them probably are connected in some way. They're all connected, but we are never told what they're connected to, and I'm not telling you what I'm saying when I say they're connected either. So I ain't gonna tell you what I'm even saying. You got to figure that out yourself. But anywho, she's a former White House aide, Elise Stefanik, 30, from Adirondack, North Country region, and attorney Lee Zeldin, 34. They're always attorneys, Cohens, Levites, from Eastern Long Island. Okay, did Elise Stefanik get a binder? It does not appear that Representative Elise Stefanik was among the group of right-wing influencers who received binders labeled the Epstein Files Phase 1 at the White House in February of 2025. Well, it doesn't appear. I don't know if you guys know, but when any one of the elite uses that phrase, what they're saying is that, yeah, they did, but it doesn't appear that they did, In other words, we've lied about it. We've hidden the fact, so it's not going to be apparent. Yes, they got a binder, but it's not apparent that they got a binder. Because we didn't tell you, and we're not going to tell you now. Oh my goodness. So it doesn't appear. Now, this is information see, almighty AI cannot get this information. It's just too hard to find this information. They could just pick up a phone and call Elise Stefanik and say, hey, did you get a binder? And she could say, yes or no. Right? Oh, well, maybe she'd lie about it, right? There's no way they could, twist her arm and get the truth. Or how about if they just asked Trump, did you give one to Stephanie? Or Stefanik or whatever? Did you give one to Taylor Greene? Did you, we could get definitive answers from people that were telling the truth. But if we can't even trust any of these individuals to admit or to tell us anything, Trump can't be counted on to tell us. Stefanik, Taylor Greene, none of the other congressmen or anyone, none of the people who got one of these binders is willing to tell us what was in the binders specifically or let us read it. And after they got their binder and it was shown on television publicly that they all got binders, and it was a big, gossip running around. They got binders. Remember the binders in the Romney thing? Oh, what's that all about? What is this thing about binders? Who's using binders, right? Don't they have a phone? Are they not hooked up to the dark web? I mean, they could do it over on dark web. They didn't want somebody to know about it. You ever heard about that? How many people have ever been to the dark web where they sell children, right? Where violent, evil, wicked murders and terrorist conversations going on and selling and buying the souls of men. But no one's ever been there. Nobody can tell you what's going on over there, and the police can't certainly get that information, and Congress can't crack that dark web and take it down. Well, no. Well, if this is dark, you can't do it. Who knows? Well, yeah, there is a dark web, friends. It's the most sick, wicked, most You know why you will never know about these binders or the dark web, either one? Because you're never going to know what's down that hole in Thule, or Thule, as what it's called, up there in Salt Lake. Underneath Salt Lake, there's a great city called Thule. And it is probably bigger than Salt Lake. It's got, goodness knows, the interconnectedness with Pueblo or something down there where they've got the other tunnel going underground. We got the Denver airport with all the cryptic stuff on the, the walls, and these corridors going out to places where they can unload and load from some kind of ship that ain't even a plane, right? They're getting flights in from some constellation in the Orion area or something, but we're never able to verify anything. There's all these green little serpent alien reptilian grays running around, but no one's got a picture of them except for a grainy kind of a cartoon CGI picture and a lot of scuttle-buttle. And remember what Stephen Green says is it's all real disclosure. And by the way, yes, they do shadow ban people, and they might be getting thousands of clicks, but it may only show 1,000, but it's really 10,000 or 100,000. They take a zero down. That's how you shadow ban you, so you can't get an algorithmic, push, so that it doesn't go out further. They can kind of control that you don't really get into people's feeds. And I just heard from a friend, they were just randomly driving in some big city and got in a cab or an Uber, and they were talking about their day or something, and this guy turns around, the Uber driver, and says, "Do you listen to David Vose?" And they're like, "Yes, I listen to Dave Vose every day." "Okay, well, yeah, I've been listening for years," and they start this conversation. So random people listen to David Vose, but supposedly nobody's ever heard of him. Well, I don't know, but a lot of lies are going down, being laid like the checkwork pavement, the good and evil, with each step, the yellow brick road, paved with golden bars to a city in the sky, an emerald city, where a man is behind the curtain pulling levers that nobody even knows who he is. And he's an imbecile. Really? I don't think so. I think they're subtly letting you know that the person who's running this whole show is evil itself, Satan. And he really doesn't know what he's doing, but he's got power over you because you want to believe. That witch, she ain't got no power, and all those monkeys can't do anything to you. You got those red slippers, and you know it. And you know it. And Toto's with you. And yeah, there's the good angel that will come every time you click your heels. I mean, she's a lovely, beautiful princess who's got all power in heaven upon earth, and she loves you. Why don't you just believe? Man, get a brain, get a heart, get some courage, get on down the road, man. But if you can't wake up, you will have no brain. If you won't wake up, you have no heart. And if you didn't wake up, you had no courage. And all of it was within you, and you were seeking it, but you had it all along. But you didn't use it. You didn't use it. And after all, it was just a dream, wasn't it? It's all just a dream. And nothing matters. So let's let the evil people keep being evil. Let's pretend we didn't see that. Probably that time that Trump was talking about grabbing in their Uzis, he was just off camera. It was just guy talk. Everybody does it. That's a strange thing to say. It's a very odd thing. I mean, I would say that, yeah, men do stuff like that. Teenage kids, laughing when they're drunk, or maybe it could happen. But do full-grown men, coinkedinkly, Epstein or Trump or, presidential candidates on their way to a presidential debate or something, do they normally say something like that? I don't know. I just heard an entire interview of a woman who claims to be a 13-year-old girl who was literally doing things to Trump.
I came to this interview on my free will. No, there was nothing promised to me for doing this interview. Yes, everything that I say at this interview will be the truth. I met Donald Trump at some parties I attend that I was working for Mr. Jeffrey Epstein.
Oh, I'm sorry I had to cut that off right when it's starting to get juicy, but I ain't going to play it because I really think it's a psyop. I doubt whether this woman's telling the truth. Do I then think that Donald Trump didn't do the things that she's saying? No, I think he probably did. But understand that they got to give you the truth, but the truth is going to be CGI. In other words, maybe we did go to the moon, but they're not going to show you any pictures. Because what's really on the moon, they don't want you to know. So they're going to say that Trump did this so they can say, oh, yeah, we told you, right? We told you, you idiots. But what they told us about what Trump did is nothing compared to what he actually did. And they're not going to tell you that, right? But at least they told you in some strange way. They set it up. It's theater. Controlled opposition. It's Alex Jones. It's Tucker Carlson, whose dad was a CIA agent over the propaganda of this country. It's Marjorie Taylor Greene, or however you pronounce her name, who's pretending to be a conservative Christian girl running in our great institution of government, demanding for justice for all, who's just a CIA plant. At the Epstein Island, evidently, from what I understand, what I remember, was recruited by Epstein's girl, Ghislaine, whatever, Maxwell, and told to service Trump. She had been a virgin. Trump, supposedly in this whole story, Trump had to have gloves. He never was allowed, no one's ever allowed to touch him. He didn't go in with the other people. He would sit in his own special place. He chose her because she was a virgin, and she had to service him and all this stuff. Okay, look, I don't know. I listened to the whole thing, and to be honest with you, I think it was a fake. Not that I don't think that Trump could do stuff like that. I don't know. Don't care. Don't matter to me. I mean, if some guy, billionaire, gets his jollies in a little room with a curtain, right? I mean, people are doing it with Father Tell the Truth all the time, right? Father, I've sinned, but who cares? You're not allowed to say, oh, that's a sin. We got to call the police. No, that's confidential. So I get that. It could have happened. Maybe it did. Probably did somewhere along the line. Even if that's not true, I think the whole story is made up. I honestly think that they want you to see the scandal. I think they wanted us to see the Russia for 4 years and the impeachment. Oh, we're going to impeach him again. Oh, we're going to impeach him again. Well, we couldn't do it. And the little old Adam Schiff. That's his name. They're always a Benjamin or an Adam or something. He gets up there. He looks like a little, I don't know, Charlie Brown when he's all grown up, or maybe Pigpen. And, he's got him a little suit, and he's like, he's just so smart, right? And he's just so sincere and dadgummit, he's for the people. He wants justice. And he just hates Trump, right? And all this went on and on and on and on. And we're watching with bated breath. We get our popcorn every day. Oh, what's the news going to say today? Oh, what are they going to do today? Oh, Trump, he's a martyr. Oh, they almost shot him. Almost, just nicked his ear. Oh, man, that was scary. Oh, and oh, they're persecuting him. And look, they said he's a rapist and a child trafficker and an evil man, and he likes to grab their wussies, and he's a wealthy billionaire, and he's got a golden statue of Zeus and Apollo in his apartment and gold and toilet seats. But look, Hey, we didn't vote for a priest. We voted for a man that would save the world, man, the savior. And we see everything going on. The whole Israeli government giving a coin with his name as the Messiah on their coin. All the dates and the times and everything that's going on. It's just like synchronized, just right up to literally with absolute synchronicity line up with the biblical dates and times, and they're just fulfilling every detail of biblical prophecy, almost as if they're being controlled like little puppets. Now you could think, well, maybe they're all in on it. They're so smart, they figured all this out. They got the Hegelian dialectic, Dave. They know everything. They got their think tanks. They're smart individuals. Why, look at, they went to the moon, and right now they're traveling in a tin can. No fuel at this point. It's been going a trillion miles. They ran out of fuel a long time ago. But yeah, it's just sailing. They got a sail on it, right? And the galactic winds are carrying it over to some Andromeda galaxy, right? And they've got pictures of planets over there. And yep, yeah, the alien grays are running everything. Oh, they look like little devils, just to confirm the Bible, but we ain't going to say we're confirming the Bible, but everything's patterned on what the Bible says. Right? You go into a courtroom and put your hand on the Bible and swear. No matter where you are, in Muslim country or Russia or China, everything's based on the precedence of law. Their law. But we don't see anything. We see nothing. We know nothing. That dun 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 dun. I know nothing. This is being shoved right into your faces, and you all just act like, oh well, I guess they lost those files, or hey, we couldn't possibly ask them to show us the files. I think what's going on is Trump knows that they're going to dangle this out there. Because look, if they didn't have controlled opposition, then there'd be real people investigating, and they'd find the truth and lay it out there, and we go, oh, truth, ha ha, well, there you go. See, I think that there are so many expressions like that we use, and we think we know what we're saying, but it doesn't register. It's not making sense. All these words that we're using in English, it's just words to communicate nothing. We don't understand what we're saying. We don't have any emotion because we don't know what we're saying. But what is it? What does it mean? Controlled opposition. We're like, oh yeah, controlled opposition. Hold that one. Agent 99, I just missed it by that much. Well, yeah, it's just by that much that you're missing the understanding of this. Controlled opposition. That's a whole package. We got to unpack it. All you're looking at is the first two words, and now move on, young soldier. You've got to move on, and you don't have time to think about what you just heard. Controlled opposition. You don't have no clue what that really means. You got two words that you didn't unpack, and you've never had the time since then. Or is it that we're being brainwashed not to unpack the words? That we're being like somehow secretly mesmerized or encouraged. Our culture, just go along to get along, and we can't be different, and we're afraid. MK, mind control, is pain. You apply pain and suffering, and then you offer them some water, and if they take the water, then they'll stop the pain, but you're not, so it's training through suffering, through police raids and theatrical spectacles on television, and slowly manipulating everything in your world. But when all this is going on, there might be somebody wake up and they'll start telling everybody, and they don't want that. See, that would be the opposition. They don't want an opposer, because opposition will expose everything. So they also understand that they cannot just get rid of all opposition. We wouldn't believe it if there were no opposition. We would, if all we ever heard was one thing, like robotic, blah, 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 we would not believe it after a while. We're that smart. We will figure it out. There's no other answer but either what they're telling us or maybe they're lying. It's yes or no. And we can figure that out. So in order to get us off track so we don't figure it out, is they give us the opposition. Then we don't like, oh, well, they got to be telling the truth because look, if they allow opposition, look at the opposition. Alex Jones, Tucker Carlson, he don't believe what they believe. Why, don't worry about it. We'll sit down and listen and they'll debate it. Should we kill our babies or just take the gender right out of them when they're 3? I don't know. You decide on Phil Donahue at 3 o'clock. But as long as the people see the two opposing sides, well, we've got Democrat, we've got Republican, we've got communism, we've got Satanism, we've got Christianity. It's all counterbalanced, and therefore it couldn't be orchestrated. This harmony. Oh, it's too beautiful. It's got to be spontaneously nothing causing this, but some random reality that we believe in. No deity whatsoever. But in that sense, you see both sides and you're fine. They're debating it out. But if there were only one voice, you'd start getting suspicious. So they make the other voice. And they do stop the true opposition. They won't allow the true opposition, but they will allow a false opposition, right? Controlled opposition. In other words, sometimes the opposition speaks some of the truth so that we know, oh, that's what we believe. Hey, Rush Limbaugh's saying something we like. Okay, I don't like the other stuff, but hey, he's saying something, man. Okay, so that's controlled because they won't they'll tell you what you like, but they won't go all the way and say, yeah, maybe we shouldn't believe in this crap. They won't expose it all. They'll say, well, they apologize. Well, hey, we can't go after them, arrest them for this. We can't stop them from doing all the evil, but we can always sit here and make fun and point fingers and tell you all things are fine. And this kind of democracy, like the swinging of the pendulum back and forth, evil, and then a little bit less evil, and then a little bit more evil, and then a little bit less evil, a lot more evil there. and you don't realize it now. You're so much more evil, not even for the evil, but just because you're so stupid that you never noticed it. Whew. Anyway, that's controlled oppositions, friends. But they can't have that. So what they do is they put the truth out there with a controlled CIA agent, which they've got in place everywhere. In your religious organizations, your local congregations probably got a CIA agent, right? The Butler, what's his name? Richard Butler, the head of the neo-Nazis up in Hayden Lake, Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. My mother interviewed him. He literally had a CIA agent living with him. He was the CIA. They were recruiting people in that area, burning effigies in the field, very white supremacist type group, recruiting them out of the prisons, tattooing them terrorists, and it was being done by the CIA. And I know that for a fact because my mother went there and literally interviewed Richard Butler. For some of you who may have remembered at that time, we've moved on now. We're doing ISIS now, and El Salvadorian gang members. Right? We're on to something brand new now. But they're rioting in the streets. They're tearing everything up and putting on the news every day with the Mockingbird, Project Mockingbird. Repeating everything that they're told to repeat over and over and over again on the news. And one of the things they repeat is Trump is being investigated. Trump is possibly done something wrong. Oh, look, he said wussy. Right? We've got pictures with him that we're going to plaster all over the media with him and Epstein laughing and talking about girls, right? And it looked like little fiends, like some kind of little hungry demon, just thirsting for some little young woman. But you'll never know if it's true because there's never any punchline. There's never any conclusion to any matter. The investigations are ongoing, sir. Just wait and be patient. One day Trump will fix it all. And I noticed that this Pam Bondi thing was set up. Notice she didn't get fired or she didn't step down. Neither did I remember, was it a week ago or 2 weeks ago that Banjani or whatever his name is and Kash Patel or whatever that are running the FBI, which all of a sudden the FBI is taking orders from the DOJ, right? They weren't doing that in the first 4 years of Trump's administration. Then they were like independent rogue agents, right? They didn't give a flying leap what the DOJ said. And the DOJ actually was like, well, we could probably arrest Trump, right? I'm for the impeachment, they would say. So it was all a concerted thing, and it made you believe that everybody was against Trump. But now that everybody's for Trump, you're not suspicious?
Acosta was asked about Epstein being an intelligence asset after the DOJ released a report on that investigation.
I would hesitate to take this reporting as fact.
Rumors and intrigue also continue to swirl due to conflicting CCTV information. In 2020, U.S. prosecutors said jail footage was destroyed by accident. But on Monday, the DOJ and FBI released a 10-hour video recorded outside Epstein's cell door to prove his death was a suicide. But timestamps skipped from 11:58 to midnight.
The evidence prior to it was showing he committed suicide.
In response to the memo, several MAGA loyalists, including Laura Loomer, now calling for Bondi to resign. Writing in part on X, the American people in MAGA base will not tolerate being lied to. Conservative podcast host and Trump supporter Megyn Kelly also slamming Bondi over her handling of the Epstein files, saying her days are numbered.
So she's either lazy and incompetent, or she willingly humiliated some of the president's most loyal supporters.
Now, the memo is also likely to generate even more outrage from those who claimed Epstein's high-profile associates could be implicated in his crimes. The DOJ and FBI announcing no further charges are expected.
Welcome back in Alive Now. I'm Austin Westfall, a live look at the White House, where it's approaching 7 p.m. in the nation's capital. Some breaking news to get to. President Trump is defending his attorney general amid the Department of Justice's Epstein files criticism. President Trump posting a lengthy statement on his platform, Truth Social. I've got the entire thing in front of me here, just to give you an idea of how long this post is. That's what we're working with. I'm going to read the full thing. We were covering this last night, some of the internal disputes, if you want to put it that way, between Bondi and the FBI's Dan Bongino related to the Epstein files. This is what Trump said on Truth Social moments ago. I'm reading it verbatim. What's going on with my boys and in some cases, gals? They're all going after Attorney General Pam Bondi, who is doing a fantastic job. We're on one team, MAGA, and I don't like what's happening. We have a perfect administration, the talk of the world, and selfish people are trying to hurt it, all over a guy who never dies, Jeffrey Epstein. For years, it's Epstein over and over again. Why are we giving publicity to files written by Obama, Crooked Hillary, Comey, Brennan, and the losers and criminals of the Biden administration who conned the world with the Russia hoax, 51 intelligence agents, the laptop from hell, and more? They created the Epstein files just like they created the fake Hillary Clinton, Christopher Steele dossier that they used on me, and now my so-called friends are playing right into their hands.
You don't know that there's somebody working together, that it's a dialectic, that they're pushing the information, because they have to tell you. They have to literally tell you. So the side that tells you is the side that you think is idiots. They're just trying to persecute him, and they're telling us this stuff, but it's not true. But we can never find out the truth if it's true or not. But all we can do is shift public opinion by showing the bad side, the accusation that Trump's a bad guy. Well, that's ridiculous. It's so real. We're not controlling anything. Why? We almost lost the whole pie. We dropped it right there on the floor, but, it landed right side up, of course, accidentally, coincidentally. We picked it up. Everything's fine. Don't you worry. It was just a little drama. And, Pam Bondi almost had to quit over this, but now everybody's watching carefully, glued to their television, and now we get the answer that we're waiting for. Oh, well, here it comes. Trump will tell you. It's part of the persecution. There never was any Epstein files. And Ghislaine Maxwell is in prison for 20 years for nothing. Now she's come out and said, I'll expose everybody. Just let me out of here. This is what they just said. Ghislaine Maxwell is telling her lawyers that she's willing to start talking and she's going to expose everybody. Well, either next week she'll end up suicided in the prison, or this is part of the special feature, right? A new episode, an entirely brand new episode with answers to last week's cliffhangers and more intrigue. A special report, right? Dun 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 dun. Special report with Brett Baer. Okay, here's the new information. She's going to expose all these people. Yeah, right. All these billionaires are going to let her expose them. She'd either be dead or they're gluing us to the television so that we can see the final truth. Epstein, his girl, his own little hussy, she's going to come out and expose it. And who's going to go down for all of this? It ain't going to be Trump. And we'll never know. But they'll make it look like, oh, it's got to be true because Trump was sweating there for a while and he was all mad. But now we see why he was mad, because it's just all a bunch of lies created by the Democrats to try and bring him down. None of it's really true. And all you Trumpers will go, oh, that's what I thought. It's just Trump persecution. There's no Epstein. Right? It was just some silly little... But friends, I'm going to tell you what it was. Epstein and Trump themselves are the great lie. The MK Ultra mind-altering CIA plot to bring in a government, a one-world government, right into the United States with intrigue, with assassinations, with propaganda, with more Hegelian dialectics than you could shake two sticks at. There might be bears in the trail, cougars after us. There's probably going to be some plane crashes, and we don't know where the plane went, and maybe it went into a wormhole or it's going to, we don't know what just happened. There was an alien that just walked by, but that was probably CGI or maybe it was just a blurry picture. The pixels went out in the film as we were going by there. But don't you worry. That's all dark web. It ain't true. It ain't real. Nobody's ever been there. It's just a conspiracy. Everything's fine. Trump became a billionaire right at the same time Elon became a billionaire. Epstein was buying and selling senators, and they're all partying together on camera, and nobody wants any of this to see the light of day. We've got to believe they're all bad guys trying to hide something, but the truth is that they're trying to expose something. They're not trying to hide anything. They're trying to tell you, oh yeah, there's some bad people, get you kind of hooked and believing that it's so bad that we've got to have saviors. And look, the bad guys made Trump look bad, but he's not. He's saving you. And if they orchestrate this information properly, they will definitely make you believe, especially when now that XRP is taken over, and you thought it was going to be the mark of the beast, right? You thought it was going to be a bad thing, but guess what? We're all going to be wealthy. We're all going to be sitting around in golden bathtubs with golden toilet seats. Everybody's going to be you will have no idea. We're going to take Greenland. We're going to take Central America. We'll have the gates to Gibraltar as well. We'll take that little Macron and just, him and his little boyfriend, girlfriend, wife, old lady, well, yeah, I don't know. What does she have over this man? I know he's got a really big nose, but you know what? He ain't ugly. He's still, probably adorable to somebody. But to that little boy dressed in a wig, I don't know. I mean, what does I mean, remember, he was only a child when they came in and swept him up and made him the little pet of this billionaire chocolate factory woman. And now he's the king of France, the great France, right? Where we got the Statue of Liberty. He's taken over the whole thing. Now we've gone from freedom to what we call liberty and pornography and evil for all. And you think it's the same thing. You think it's the same thing. This liberty is the same thing as freedom. This kind of liberty where we bring a woman who's really a man and we put her on a platform and burn all of our Bibles and get down and worship her. No, that's what the French Revolution was. Not a real liberty and justice for all, but the liberty and the justice was rooted out, and the Huguenots were sent away, and they came to America and made the Constitution of America. Uh-oh, right? The Lord says you've got to have good in the world. Okay, so let's see if we can deceive the world and to not believe in the good. We'll go over there and we'll make a bank. We'll give them some money. We'll make some brothels. We'll offer them some, maybe some whiskey and gin, tobacco, heroin. Pretty soon we'll have taken over their cities, and we'll say, hey, you've got to have slavery or else you're not going to get your tobacco, right? They're out there picking at tobacco. We've got to have people coming over from Mexico, because who's going to do the farm labor, right? You idiots. Do you want to eat and be living high on the hog? Well, then let the slaves come in and the terrorists too. It's all part of the program. Don't you understand? You've got to have a few people, flaying around in the streets, homeless and dying, in order for us to have all these good things and these luxuries. So don't say anything, right? We'll just give them welfare. I know they're going to go out and take that welfare and buy more drugs and die, but hey, it's their choice. There's their choice after we've taken their mind and given them a lobotomy. I just saw a show where they were talking, they showed this woman, in a room, a very lovely woman, like back in the 50s or something. It's black and white. And she's, upset, obviously, literally. They were trying to get talking to her and trying to get her to conform to reality or whatever. She didn't like her dresses that high or something. I don't know. So finally they said, look, you ain't going to cooperate. And they strapped her down and they did a lobotomy on her, which is basically they put an ice pick right through your brain and take out right this little center part of your brain where you have that little sense of being your own self. That maybe they call it the God gene or whatever. Yeah, now they can do it with drugs, and they do every diggity dang dong day. And you see all these people wandering around happy, right? Drooling, but happy. And you think, well, it works, man. Yeah, it worked back in the 1950s. And they show you the after picture. And she was just sitting there, overweight. She didn't care about her weight anymore. She was a very lovely woman. Now she was just all like overweight, sitting there, smiling, doing embroidery and making blankets, and you could have slapped her right across the face. She should have just smiled, right? She was happy being a slave, right? She didn't even need that cage you put in there. Why? That was just over the top. Thank you so very much for that cage and the cheese into our little, yeah. So, friends, in conclusion, what the fiddly flap are we doing? Come on now. Well, here's what we ought to do. Now, you either like this idea, you either think, well, all this makes sense, Dave, and you agree, or you don't agree. If you don't agree, but you think, well, maybe it's true, maybe you should really consider this and think about it a bit till you come to an understanding on your own. But I say, here's what I think. I think they know that Jesus is coming. His kingdom is being established. They're scared out of their minds. And I think they know that they're going to lose. And they don't have any authority over us. When Jesus gave us the authority over scorpions and serpents and humans that act like that, he never revoked it and never will, because you see, you attain unto that, and we have. And by virtue of the fact that you've got the ability and the control over your tongue, you definitively have the control over the rudder of this ship. And here's what we're going to do. We're going to speak the truth. No longer are we going to just conform to the evil. We are going to demand that everyone understand that we want nothing more to do with this society. We're going to take our children, and we may have to do a lot of praying about that. Kids sometimes get a little, cranky. But I'll tell you what, you go ahead and you get them a place to keep them safe. Right? You save up your money, or, and you better do it quick. Maybe you should buy some of the XRP, and who knows, you might have a month or two, cash in on a little bit of money before you have to get the market of peace, and you got to pull out, because you don't want that. We're going into the mountains. We're going to do what Jesus said and put our money in the bank, right? Hopefully we got some left over with maybe at least interest, right? And we're going to take that money and we're going to get the tools we need to get out of Dodge. And I don't mean the coin. So we need to get out of Babylon. Or, now here's the or, and this is up to you. I'm, far be it from me to tell you what to do. But, or you will partake of her plagues. You will be guilty of her sins, and you will partake of her plagues. Revelation chapter 18. Get out of her, my people, if you do not want to share with her in her sin and partake of her plagues. The plagues that are coming, it's upon the whole earth, both the small and the great, the rich and the poor, the borrower and the lender. Come on now, Bill. You're going down. All of you. If you don't, whoever you are, even Bill, you can repent if you just want to, Bill. Just say, I'm wrong and I'm sorry. And we'll all forgive you. Everyone. Elon will forgive you if you just stop this nonsense. We hope, we pray for you, because Jesus is not going to be very happy when he sees you and what you're doing. Repent of it now, Elon. Bezos, listen. Repent now before it's too late. Not because you're bad. We're all bad. It's the flesh, man. Let it go. Forgive yourself. And forgive us all. And let's just live in harmony with love. I know it's a hard concept. If you can receive the love of the truth, you'll be delivered from this wrath that's coming. The wrath of the deity of vengeance. The only way you could be free from that is to forgive everyone, that your sins also may be forgiven. Otherwise, what you judge and met out to others will be meted out to you. Guys, get some land. Get out here and find some land where I'm at. Buy it. We're going to have a village. We'll have weekend, celebrations. We'll have help with the brethren to help each other. Let's create what the Lord says will be created. Just before the tribulation, we've got to do this. We've got to flee into the wilderness. Get out of her, my people. And they dwelt in tents, right? In the festival of booths, which is a representation of the great tribulation, right? Go in unto the tabernacle, for though but just a moment, until the indignation be past, the Lord saith. And the indignation and the wrath is coming upon the entire earth. But the woman went into the wilderness, where she has a place prepared by deity, away from the face of the serpent. And they nourished her there during the tribulation of 1,260 days, 3.5 years. And happy and holy is anyone who arrives and comes to the 1,335 days. Be blessed, friends. The Lord loves you all. His grace is with you, and his peace. And he wants everyone to understand he loves you. Now go tell everyone. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Lord bless you. Have a good one.